Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today, in episode 190, I'm very pleased to have Rex Bear as my returning guest on the Quantum Guide Show. I discovered Rex and his podcast called Leak Project about 8 years ago, and he has become one of my favorite go to guys for alternative media. Rex has a motto: be the change you want to see. He considers himself to be a lone wolf with a non assimilated mind, and he is a seeker of truth, knowledge, and experience. Rex has worked at almost 100 different positions in the workplace before he started Leak Project. From construction to corporate America, he's learned a little about a lot and has had a tough time fitting into the controlled matrix of illusion. So he started Leak Project. Leak Project was created to offer awareness and information not found in the mainstream news. With over 90% of the world's media controlled by only six enormous conglomerates, many people are looking for more accurate information, and Leak Project offers a refreshing approach to the brain drain media. Check out his channel daily for his new content as Leak Project thrives to bring you the cutting edge in news, current events, and on scene video footage, also interviews and information. And as usual, all of the links are featured below. So without any further ado, let's bring hi Rex, how the
Hey,
heck are you?
great. How the heck you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. We got our twin hats on today.
Oh
You
yeah.
can you still get these guys? I think you can still get these from
Not
Leak
your
Project.
model. The one that you have, they don't make anymore, but we still have actually doing great with the Leak Project hats and the tinfoil hats. They're not real tinfoil, but if you go to tinfoilcap.co, not com, but tinfoilcap.co, you can get these hats. But they also have liners that you can put in other hats. And I have a friend that's very, very, very EMF sensitive, and she's tried everything. And she says that these liners are the best and they help her sleep better. And I've heard that from several people, but this person in particular that talked to me recently, it's made a huge difference for her. So anyway, that's a quick shameless plug, but I think you'll thank me later if you are EMF sensitive. You'll thank me if you go to tinfoilcap.co. But yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, so I just want to tell everybody I love my hat and it's got the liner in it, and I especially love to wear it when I fly.
Okay.
And I'm definitely EMF sensitive, which is why I got the hat. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I really want to encourage everybody to pick yours up. Um, and make sure that you do that. We got a few people in the chat,
So
and
I would like to share the link out. Is there a link that I can share with people at Leak Project while we're talking for the live? Where do they go? Just your YouTube channel, Quantum Guides, or
I'm not sure.
oh,
So, um, sorry,
cool.
what kind of link is it? Just a regular link?
Well, yeah. Where are you live right now?
I'm live on Rumble, I'm live on YouTube, and I'm live on Facebook.
You are live on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me share your channel from YouTube out, and that way, because I'm sure some people want to hear what we have to say over there. So wonderful. Okay, cool.
Okay. So you managed to figure it out? Sorry, I'm not that
I will
technical.
I will while we're talking. I'm multitasking right now.
Okay, and you can also live stream this out to your places as well.
Cool. Okay. Well, let
I
me
don't know if you know how to do that.
I
So,
don't, and I can do that next time for sure. But I do want to share your link out so people can come
thank
subscribe.
you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway,
we got quite a few people joining us today, so that's really nice.
cool.
Angelina Cadeau, It Is I, Agent Cat, all in the house. Welcome, guys. So lovely to have you here.
Nice.
So, yeah, so I'm so excited to have you back on the show, Rex, because nobody that I've ever discovered yet presents the amount of information and the different kinds of information that you do, and it's amazing. Anything we want to know about, whether we want to know about ETs and disclosure, or whether we want to know about what the hell's going on politically, or whether we want to know what's going on geographically, with storms and weird stuff, anything that's outside of the box, you got it. So I was wondering what's new and what's your latest stuff you've been delving into?
Oh, well, I've been hitting a lot on the news, just like the headlines lately, to see what a lot of times you can watch the news and just kind of take it with a grain of salt and see the overall landscape of like future events, kind of forecasting. So I'm getting back into that. I've also noticed that a lot of stuff that I was researching about 12 years ago and blogging about is coming into fruition right now with some like the organoids, where they're growing basically humanoid brains. They're called organoids, so they're not like full on human brains, and they're getting them to do specific tasks and play
Yes.
video games and stuff. It's so bizarre, but also like what we were talking about, 10 years ago. It's pretty wild to see that now. And I was just reading an article about that, and the article was discussing how they're going to be a lot more creative if they're used for computer applications to take these organoids versus what they're using now, and it'll require a lot less energy. So that's their promotion. You're like, well, you don't have to have this nearly as much energy consumption, and they're going to be more creative. So let's just grow humanoid brains. They're called organoids. Don't worry, they're not conscious. Well, maybe a little bit. It's just,
Well,
it's
I wondered about that. So yeah, so basically what they're doing is they're taking human cells from a human body and linking them up to technology, and they're using muscle cells for mobility or motility. I'm not sure which is the right word. They're using, like you said, brain cells for processing information.
right.
And these little critters, for lack of a better term, they function really, really well, like you
Mhm.
said, and they're becoming really popular. But I got to wonder, uh, is there, I don't know, do you think there's soul essence attached to them? Do you think there's some consciousness? Because, kind of like, in my
Consciousness,
opinion,
yes.
yeah, in my opinion, all living things and even some non-living things like crystals have consciousness. Now we know plants have consciousness, everything has consciousness. I think, that's something like out of an anime series. What happens to the consciousness? What's your take on all of that, Rex?
I mean, there's definitely consciousness there. And I think that consciousness is an aspect of spirit. So the brain itself, the theory that I've been leaning towards lately is the possible fact, let me rephrase that. The theory that I've been leaning towards lately is more our brain isn't as much of a, like, we don't think of stuff in our brain per se, we process stuff with our brain. So if
Hmm.
everything's consciousness and we're living within consciousness, then it appears that our brain is something that can physically concentrate and organize and help us understand the consciousness around us, but it isn't what consciousness is. So it's pretty remarkable. But the aspect of different beings and plants and animals and insects, I was thinking even in depth about that the other day, because I went out to Oklahoma, and it was a long drive. It's like a 12-hour drive, and I'm driving the roads that are not the major highways to kind of get some peace and serenity while I drive versus being around tons of people on the freeway. And I was thinking about animals and plants, and being an animal, you do not have the free will that we do. You are in a fight or flight mode from when you're born until you die. And like, especially fish life. Look at the fish in the ocean or in the lake, the way they got to watch their tail, right? Because there's always there's a bigger fish that wants to eat them. They don't get much time to just chill. And so they're not really thinking about the afterlife. They're not thinking about what it would be like after that experience. They're just in the moment. And it seems
Hmm.
like where we're at now in this human evolution or this human archetype, we have the ability to experience the universe in a way that we're observing ourselves through the universe, and the universe is like there's this incredible entanglement. So it I do see life and consciousness with building organoids. And I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't know how to think about that, because 10 years ago, 12 years ago, once again, there was an article in Wired magazine where they wanted to genetically modify chickens and hook them up to these machines that look like something out of the Matrix, these vertical chicken farms. And they wanted to genetically modify them to where they didn't have a certain part of the brain. So in doing so, they would not have a miserable life being connected to this vertical chicken farm. In theory, you look at it and it's frightening to look at, and you think about it and it's frightening to think about. So I would say be very careful in playing God in
Yeah.
creating something like that, but it's kind of inevitable. I see a very wild future, and not necessarily bad. I mean, we were created allegedly in the mythology to do the work for the gods. Well, what were the gods? Some people think very elaborate of the gods. Some people think a little bit more along the lines that they were an advanced version of us, larger. And so they're like, well, man, we're working hard. We've been playing around with biology. What if we made a miniature us, mini-me's? It'll be great. We'll make them a certain way, and they can do the work for us and we can go play. And maybe some of them wanted different things. Some of them wanted companionship. Some of them wanted friendship. Some of them wanted slaves. Some of them, I don't know, but I don't think it was one specific entity. It appears that there were people before us that we know about with some of these ancient civilizations. And I don't think the story that we've been fed with aliens, it's all aliens, is necessarily true. It could be. And you and I have talked about this. We've had our own experiences that could be extraterrestrial. Certainly doesn't seem to be human, but we don't really know what it is. And even when people have experiences with beings that say they're from Zeta Reticuli or from a certain place, it doesn't really mean that they are. And it doesn't mean that person's telling a story. Maybe that happened to that person, but that if there's an entity out there that can show itself, it could certainly tell a story where it came from. And it could be from here. Who knows?
Yeah, I want to say, just going back a little bit to what you said earlier, Rex, I agree. Like the brain is not, I don't think the brain actually houses our consciousness. In fact, they're finding out now that people that they think are brain dead and they're harvesting their organs, they are fully conscious and it's someplace else. It's not housed within the brain. They've never actually been able to find consciousness within the brain itself. So I think it might be part of what we might think of as the Akashic records or something like that. But I have to say, humankind has such a talent for screwing things up and for oppressing other beings and other humans without even intentionally meaning to. So it does make me really concerned about taking parts of humans and attaching them and turning them into these like little forever slave technologies. It does concern me. And how do you measure consciousness? Well, I think places like the Monroe Institute, might have a handle on that. But let's face it, the powers that be on this planet do not have our best interests at heart. In fact, I don't think they give a fiddler's fart about you or me, Rex. And so sorry, I don't forget where I was going with all of this, but I just
Consciousness.
don't trust the system, Rex. I don't trust it.
They love you so much. They love you so much. If you really, in my opinion, if you really think about it, like the world and the way that it's ran and the bills and the rules and the regulations and the governments and society in general, it's just so weird. Like, what happened? What went wrong? And it kind of appears that if you really think about it and you get rid of the dogma, in some ways, I'm just thinking now out loud, even like as we're talking, as we're having this conversation, it seems like it's survival of the fittest, and not even the fittest, but the survival. Yeah, let's repeat that. It's survival of the most. It's like certain aspects of control. If we look at it from the way it's being presented, we're like, how do they do that? Like, how can they actually do that? How can they justify certain things that take place? And even people that are just in all they care about is money and power. Like, if we look back at history as an example, I'm trying to be careful how I word this because obviously that's important. But if we think about what has taken place in the past with war as an example, we're led to believe a certain reason that war took place based upon where we live, like our upbringing, our society, what the history books teach us, etc. And it appears that there's something that makes a lot of money and profit from certain uh, agendas. And so it's like this belief system. If you can get a society to believe something, then it's going to be a lot easier to push your agenda. So you just have to get them to link up with that agenda. So how do you do that? And it seems like corporations have more power and more rights and more protection than human beings. And that's frightening. And, like humankind, think about that. Just the word itself, humankind. We're supposed to be kind. We're a reflection of the divine. We're a reflection of God. We're supposed to be kind. That's even in the word that is what we are. Yet something is kind of like hijacked that. And it's like idiocracy on steroids. It's just but whatever it is that seems to be controlling things, because I do see that from like a Hawkeye view, from like a bird's eye, from a different perspective. Like there's that song by Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails, where the lyrics is like, I used to think I was above it. Now I'm down in it. I mean, so you got to be careful thinking you're above anything else. But if you look at it from a perspective of like, wow, what happened? Why is a society being ran that appears to be so corrupt? Who's running the show? What's running the show? Is it even human? And if it is human, it clearly doesn't use the same parameters or have the same mindset that most people do, because I think most people are genuinely good people.
A good example of that, Rex, is the medical industry. If people knew how much cruelty was being orchestrated upon animals, from mice and rats to monkeys, the way that the dogs, the way they do the experiments, it's so horrific. I can't even bring myself to think about it. It makes me sick. And that's part of the reason why I personally, and I have to say this for you too, the U2 algorithm, in my personal opinion, why I have to reject a lot of mainstream medicine, because it is, and science itself, it seems to be a way of thinking where they seem to somehow, maybe it's because it's psychopathic, I don't know, but to have no feeling for these small beasts. And now they're doing chimeras, and they're mixing genetics between different kinds of animals and humans. I don't know if you've heard about humanized mice, that's well known. And all this other stuff freaks me right out. And I agree. Where is the kindness? That's what's missing from the system. And it's becoming more and more, those of us who have empathy, we're either being destroyed one way or another, or it's just that it seems like the majority of people have lost sight of the things that are really important, like human kindness and self-control, and being able to say something but you don't, because you don't want to, you don't want to be cruel, you don't want to hurt other people's feelings. It seems to be that those of us who want to be kind, choose to be kind, man, we're really taking the hits. I don't know. What's your opinion about all that, Rex?
Like, so summarize that for me a little bit. Like, what do you mean?
Okay,
Like,
sorry, I went a bit on.
okay,
Basically, I was
okay.
talking about how you were saying that there seems to be a lacking in human awareness over things like kindness in the system we're in. And I said, if you look at the medical industry
Oh,
and the amazing, I mean, not amazing, that's the wrong word, the huge amount of horrible treatment to animals for them to do their scientific experiments to make advances in medical science. To me,
It's
it's
frightening.
horrible.
It's
Beyond frightening, makes me personally reject that whole system.
I could understand why, and that's horrible. I just literally just did a podcast where there was a article referencing microplastics in infants at birth, and so I pulled up the article, and it was from nature.com, where there was a scientific paper that came out where they were actually doing experiments with rats, and they were aerosol. They were turning plastic into aerosol. They were like aerosoling, or there was a specific aerosol part of. They turned them into like particles through this aerosolization process, and then by doing that, it caused the birth of these rats. These little mice or whatever, when they were born, to have microplastics in the bodies. And I was like, oh, that's wicked. In my opinion. And then I was thinking, what if there was a race or a people or a species, whether they're human or not, that figured out a way to do that with entire societies and civilizations and entire epochs and create lifespans? And if we were modified to, or created to do, if we look at these mythologies where there could be some truth, like we were created to do the work for them, and some of them were like these bloodlines and these different types, some of them were created greater than others, and there's tons of information that describes how they created some of these people greater than themselves, so they had to suppress them. Not only Gnostic texts, but there's Mayan texts, I think.
Yep.
And so that's pretty remarkable, and very similar to what our society in these certain class regimes, as far as scientists and laboratories and corporations and behind the scenes and experiments, they're creating digital consciousness, or consciousness through a different measure, through a different means. Not necessarily creating consciousness, but something to understand consciousness and understand, like, be aware of itself. Maybe that's what consciousness is being aware of yourself, of your surroundings.
Well, yeah, but I also think that there are different kinds of humans on the planet. And I'll give you an example: psychopaths and empaths. Psychopaths not only lack the ability to have empathy and compassion, they also lack creativity and all of the gifts that we have when we are empathic. And the empaths are the ones who suffer, but beyond that, they're so creative. If you look back in history at the greatest artists and even mathematicians and all different kinds of creative beings, they often have had a lot of empathy as well. So there seems to be a dividing line, even not just amongst those that have the power, but even amongst our families and our neighbors, those that have the ability to be empathetic and those who do not. And I truly believe that those who have the empathy and choose to be empathetic actually have the creative magic to make incredible changes on this planet. So I see there's being two different kinds of humans already here.
Are they different kinds of, well, yeah, I guess that's, I'm not going to argue that. Two different kinds of humans. I was about to say, are they two different kinds of humans, or are they just two different mindsets? But it does create a different kind of human, doesn't it? So
Well, they're
definitely.
wired very differently. And then another thing that we're seeing happen, which I personally believe is a good thing, because I'm neurodivergent, is there's a lot more neurodivergent people. And I'm really excited about it because it seems to be there weren't very many 100 years ago, and there's lots now. And yeah, it can be a drag, but it can also be, I think, a blessing for the planet because of again, the complete difference in the wiring and the way of thinking and the consciousness. I don't know, maybe I'm out too far of the box here.
DNA appears to have some kind of blueprint, some kind of code. And I don't know if that's what makes people do what they do in this physical experience or in these experiences in these physical bodies, or if that's just a like a blueprint or if it has anything to do with it. But it does appear people based upon their actions. And so then you could ask yourself the question, is it supposed to be that way? Or what happened? Like we were talking about earlier, like it just seems like something went wrong. Or did it? Is it just because I can't understand things enough, or I don't understand things enough based upon all the parameters? I'm just looking at it through a certain vision, and there's more to it that I'm not seeing. But like that's just where I am currently at in this mindset of it appears
Yeah.
that there's something wrong with this world, something hijacked reality. And I don't even know if it's possible to take it back. Like if it did,
Mhm.
is there anything that we can do except for realize it's there? And I don't know.
Yeah, I think you actually have it cornered where you always say, be the change, become the change, be the change, everybody. If we become the change, we literally change the world. So I'm a big fan of simulation theory. I'm not an expert about it, but I have seen, the evidence from like the double slit experiments and different things like that. And when you even think logically about when you go smaller, 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 the way our world is structured is not very solid, it's mostly empty space.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that in myself, on my own experiments in my own life with manifesting and trying to bring about things into my life, that I believe there's a great, a much larger amount of flexibility in our personal realities than what we've been taught. And obviously, we've been taught so that we don't, take our power and start doing this stuff. So if we become the change and we start to manifest a different world, I actually think that that's more powerful than the three-dimensional construct that we're told is reality. I don't know. You have any thoughts about that, Rex?
I think you said that marvelously. I think that's a great point. And focus, like where you focus your intention or just your thoughts, more of that is going to appear in your life. And when people say simulation, like there's different definitions of simulation. So some people think of a computer, some people think of more of a like purgatory kind of thing if you're in a biblical mindset. But I don't look at us being in a computer simulation. It
Mhm.
does appear to have characteristics of the simulation. If you look at the numerology and the numbers and the sequences and the frequencies and the electric universe, and if you follow the mythologies and attempt to connect the dots, you could say, hey, look, we've got this, we're looking at this solid piece of matter, but the more I zoom in, the more it's just empty. So how is that? So then you're like, well, is it a simulation? I think it just is the properties of this experience. But a simulation implies that it's not real.
Oh,
And
it's real, all right. You jump off a cliff and you're probably going to check out,
yeah,
yeah, no, I agree. Although I call it a simulation, sorry for interrupting,
no,
Rex.
you're fine.
Although
Please.
although I call it a simulation, it's absolutely real, absolutely. But what I mean by that is it's just sort of the term that's being thrown around now to describe this specific concept. But I absolutely know that there's more flexibility in this reality than what we've been told. And can I just share a real quick with
Please.
you an experience I had?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay. So, me, like many, many other people, I had a very troubled relationship with my mom. My mom didn't appreciate me. She didn't give me eye contact. She didn't spend time wanting to hear about my day. She just basically, it was like I was kind of invisible. And so later on as an adult, I decided I was going to go back and correct a memory. I was going to create a fake memory in my mind of me having some special tea time with my mom, where she was really there for me, and she really was interested in me. And the more I created this false memory, the better I felt. And so I didn't tell anybody about it, Rex. I didn't tell anybody. It was my own private little world thing that I created to help me to cope and to kind of get over being upset with my mom, because I'm growing up now and, it's not, really relevant and da da da. So anyway, I did that and I practiced it. And 6 months later, I went to visit my mother. I never told her about this, Rex. And right out of the blue, she turned to me and she said, Karen, do you remember the tea parties we used to have after school? And that was my corrupted memory. Now, did I go back and change time? Did I change the fabric of the time space continuum? Am I that powerful? How the heck did my mom have the memory from a false, corrupted memory that I created and didn't tell anybody about? How I can't explain that.
That's pretty cool. That's
It's
pretty
damn
cool.
cool. And that's what taught me um, why that manifestation is an absolutely real thing. And so that's why I have faith in humanity and faith that we can save this world and that we can bring peace and we can do a lot. And that's another reason why I love what you say so much, Rex, your positivity and your reminding us all the time, become the change, become the change. I think it's really powerful, but it's easy to forget. All I have to do is start watching. I don't watch mainstream news, but I watch a bit of alt news. And man, right now with the elections in the US, I'm in Canada, but it sucks here too. And everything that's going on, holy shit, I can forget how magical I am real quick.
Right on. Right on. Yeah. Yeah. Keep it up, like just keep being the change. And even as I was talking about earlier, it does seem that something like hijacked the earth. As you said, well, by being the change, by focusing your intentions on what you want to see change in the world, that's going to be our best chance to change things and to actually make a difference. That is so true. And also, some people, if there is a force that appears to have manipulated things at certain levels, then some people will go into rabbit holes that takes them away from evolving themselves in a spiritual aspect. So, like observing it and just sometimes realizing, hey, it's there. I'm not going to change its path necessarily because it is what it is. It has its own survival mechanism. And what if the force itself, like evil, as an example, like what if there is an evil force that that by surviving it does what it does? Like instead of feeding it more, realizing it's there and just being like, okay, well, it's there. I'm going to avoid it. Like there's the freeway. Oh, okay. I can close my eyes and just pretend that there's not going to be any, vehicles flying at 70 miles an hour as I run across the freeway. But instead, I'm just going to be like, oh, okay. I'm going to keep my eyes open. I realize it's there. I wait for the right time to do what I need to do. And it has its thing. It has its purpose. And then we have our purpose to be the change and to keep positive vibes and to help people and to not just stand around. All right. So I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, I might get a little bit emotional talking about this. I was riding my bike, I saw this guy sitting on the bridge, like he was going to jump. People are just staring at him, like they were just. I was like, "Whoa, is this guy going to jump off the bridge?" And so I rode up to him, and there's only one other person there. The guy's like probably 250, 280, 300. He's a big dude. He's not real tall, but he's a big dude. He's sitting there, and I couldn't really hear what he was saying. And the guy goes, "Did somebody break your heart?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Was it a girl?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "How old are you?" He goes, 27. I was like, "Whoa, 27." I'm thinking to myself. And I get off the bike. I'm patting him on the shoulder, and I'm like, "Hey, man, it's okay. It's okay. Come on down." So he comes down. We get him off the bridge. the right way, without falling off. And the guy's just kind of huddled up on the floor, on the ground. He was kind of crying. We're like, "Hey, what do you need, man? What do you need?" And they just want to talk. So we're like, "Okay, let's talk to you." So we talked to him. Guy got up, and then when he got up, he kind of cheered up a little bit. I asked him what his name was. He told me what his name was, and I looked at him. I was like, "Dude, with anybody that's got a name like that, anybody could get through this. It's you." He kind of smiled a little bit, and then I realized, because he grabbed his phone. He had his phone sitting on a railing behind him. So he picks up his phone. Somebody was listening on his phone. Like his girlfriend probably, whatever, was like listening on his phone as he was going to jump off the bridge. And
Oh, no.
so we talked him out of it. We got him to calm down. We said, what can we do to help? He said, "I just want to talk." We talked to him, and he calmed down. We got him to smile. And then the cops showed up, and they were super nice. And they're like, "Well, let's get you some help." And he goes, "I don't have Medicare." And they're like, "It's okay. We're going to help you out anyway." But it was pretty wild. And then the one guy that was there, the only guy that was like trying to talk him down, and he was probably, I don't know, he was an older gentleman, really nice. And he goes, "Thank you for not jumping. My nephew jumped a year and a half ago off the bridge."
Oh.
It's totally
But
crazy.
see what an ounce of human kindness can do to change that guy's life. When we're kind to each other, we do not realize, even if it's just, someone at the grocery store checking through our groceries, or, an attendant somewhere, we don't realize a little bit of kindness might have huge, huge benefits in other people's lives. It's not that hard to be kind, and speaking of what's going on in the world, it doesn't matter. In our own little corner of reality, we can make a difference, and we're all important. And I hope everyone that sees this and listens to this, um, you know, um, takes me seriously, because I know other people's kindness has made huge, huge difference in my own life. Rex, I'm wondering if you would mind if we just did a very short 1-minute promotion, and then we're
Cool.
going to come
That's a
back.
great
And
idea.
then I thought I would pick your brain a bit about where you feel disclosure is headed.
Cool.
Are we making any progress? But we'll be right back, everybody. Just be a minute. Hi guys, break time for a short message. Are you looking for the perfect, unique seasonal gift? Check out Zendone's Orgonite. They are my unique brand of orgone generators, and they are affordable, ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. They are only available through my website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. These beautiful devices are simple compounds which balance ambient energy by converting negative energy and EMF into positive healing energy with many easily confirmed health benefits. They help diminish the harmful effects of negative energies and EMF by attracting and converting them, retuning them into new and more healthful sound and light wave patterns. They also produce orgone energy, which is also known as chi, prana, zero point, and life force. And you can use these devices for focusing the mind, healing, meditation, and for spiritual growth. Zendone's Orgonite are my unique brand of orgone generators, and they are only available through my website. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out my website to see my latest selection at KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. That's KarenHolton Healthcoach.com. Check them out today. Now, let's get back to the show. And we're back. I just want to highlight a couple comments here. Melody said, "A smile and a friendly greeting goes a long way." And Lavera says, "Intense, Rex. You were meant to be there for him." Yeah, absolutely. So that was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much, Rex, for sharing that with all of us, because it is emotional, but it's important. And I just love that I'm part of your team, and you're part of my team, and we're part of the team for the people that are in the live chat and those that are watching the replay. And I think there's a lot of us, Rex. I think there's a lot of us. There's a powerful force for good happening on this planet right now. And I think it's good to remember that.
Oh
So
yeah.
before we switch gears, is there anything else you wanted to say? I didn't want to cut you off after you were sharing your experience. And
Oh no, no, not at all. Just like, so there was several people just kind of standing around, and like, don't be that guy or gal,
yeah,
like, do something about it. That's
do
all.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Now I'm
Here's some
wondering if
bacon now. What are
I'm
we gonna
wondering if we
do
could
now?
talk a little bit about disclosure. It's funny. It's like premature ejaculation. You keep thinking it's going to happen and then it doesn't, and you keep thinking, or maybe I'm using the wrong term. I'm sorry, everybody. But you know what I mean? We keep thinking it's going to happen and then it doesn't. We keep
Oh,
thinking it's going to happen and then it doesn't. And we seem really, really no closer than we were a few years ago with disclosure. And I'm wondering if you know anything that I don't know, Rex.
Cat says definitely the wrong term.
Yeah, actually, that's the opposite to what I meant. I'm
Oh, that
sorry,
is so
guys.
funny.
I don't know where
Oh,
that
that was
came
good. You
from.
totally, thank you for that. I needed that because that was getting a little intense. That was good. That talk about a pattern interrupt. That was brilliant. Yes. Okay. So where were we? Disclosure. Let's talk about it. Um, yes, progress. Absolutely. Um, what kind of progress? Public's talking about it more. The news, the mainstream news is talking about it. So it's like front page, even sometimes. It's definitely got more coverage, congressional hearings, but we still don't know. There's like, it's always a whistleblower that allegedly, worked for this or did that or talked to somebody that saw something, but show us the real stuff. And then even the video footage of the one thing that looked kind of like a Star Wars figure, robot in a jetpack kind of thing. That was kind of weird. And then the Tic Tacs, those are kind of weird. Stuff shooting out of the ocean and stuff. Yeah, it's all really weird, but like, what you got to know more than what you're telling us. And well, we got recovered bodies. We got recovered, like the whistleblowers say, like, well, show us something. I mean,
Yeah.
it just seems like there's, and how often does stuff come out now when certain times things hit the news, when it appears like a wag the dog kind of situation. If you've ever seen that movie Wag the Dog, where they create a
Mhm.
scenario to divert attention from something that happened in office. I'm going to be kind of vague here on the words that I use, but yeah, watch the film Wag the Dog. It's kind of like that, and my opinion sometimes, not always, and so I've kind of lost hope in they're ever going to disclose like give us the real stuff. They'll give us a little,
Mhm.
like here's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then it's like a cycle where a year later or something, there's more about that article or more about, but it's never anything really new. And
Yeah.
Arrow's pretty good. I mean, I guess considering, but I still don't think Arrow, referring to the AARO, like you
Yes.
can go
Yes.
to the website and look at some of the stuff that they've released, and I appreciate what they're telling us, but I just don't think they're telling us everything. And if there's anti-gravity technology or wormhole type technology, then that would be another reason to suppress it. But nah, I'm not really hopeful. Are you?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Now, one person who I have really mixed feelings about is Elon Musk. And he has said that at the moment he sees anything, he will make sure that everybody knows about it on X at least. And I'm wondering if there are all these spaceships and UFOs and stuff, they'd be all over the place. He would have seen them by now. He claims that most of that is actually technology that's man made and being used. So I think that a lot of it is man-made technology, and of course, they don't want anyone to know uh, for whatever reason. Now, going down that route, I think that there are some amazing technologies that we could be using. Remember when Tesla was doing his experiments and JP Morgan quit his funding because there was no real profit in it. He had invested in copper and he needed copper wires, and so he went with Edison and he went that route. And I think that is still the thinking today. So what happens is there are all these technologies, but they still want us using oil and gas. They still want us um, doing things the old way because that's where the money is. All their manufacturing, all of their factories, all of their, is set up. And unfortunately, we're all paying through the nose uh, for stuff that's not even in our best interest long term. And meanwhile, I'm sure that there is 0 point energy generators and there's all kinds of amazing things, but not for us. That's for, the people who actually have the money to spend on those things, but they don't because they've got the technology. That's my opinion. Rex, what's yours?
Do you think, I mean, I would say there's probably some, and my thoughts about that is there are defense contractors that maybe have less oversight. And so they can create certain aviation vehicles that we might call alien spacecraft or whatever. And they could actually beta test them on the US military, even like swarming US, like Langley. There were 17 days at Langley where there were drones that were just swarming the crap out of not only the like aircraft, but also around the aircraft carriers, and the F-22s are out there. There's like a fleet of F-22s out there. And so because of laws and regulations, they couldn't shoot down these alleged drones. And they were literally swarming Langley for 17 days, and they admitted it. Like, that's kind of a big deal. But is it alien? I don't think so. It sounds to me like recon drones that are picking up data to see what would happen, what's there, what are the protocols if you do have these observations by these foreign drones. But I don't even necessarily think that they're Russian or Chinese. They could be, but they could also be defense contractors are like, hey man, we just made these new things. Let's go test them out over it, see what Langley does, and then maybe there's these backdoor deals where they're actually certain places in the like there's certain parts of the military that know about it, but it's so compartmentalized that they just keep these like backdoors and
Yeah.
I'm just speculating here, but I would bet that the military would have to know something about it somewhere, some rank, some position, some clearance would know about there being defense contractors making drones to go swarm Langley for 17 days.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And but you know what? I think like the nuts and bolts UFO researchers, they want to see hard evidence and they want to see facts and they want the military to admit certain things. But I'm actually suspecting, Rex, that the whole alien presence, extraterrestrial presence, is being looked at in the wrong way. I think it might be more of a spiritual thing. I think it might be an interdimensional or transdimensional phenomena. And that's why people like the Bledsoes and people that are involved with the Monroe Institute and remote viewers and stuff are having much better success at finding out that there are beings that are not human, that are intelligent. Anyway, I wonder what's your thought on that? What's your take on that?
Why not all of the above? Like why not extraterrestrials too? Why not interdimensionals and everything you just said? Is my thought.
Mm-hmm. 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 Now, I myself have had extraterrestrial experiences, and well, more than halfway finished my book, so I'm working away on it. It's a
Nice.
lot of work to write a book. It sounds easier than what it is, and then trying to get my experience accurately down so that the readers are not being misled, and not
Yeah.
being told a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and also to make it readable and interesting to read. But in my experience, it was completely transdimensional. It
Hmm.
was not three-dimensional at all. And it actually happened to me at night while I was sleeping. And I thought I was dreaming for the longest time. And then I thought I was crazy. And then I realized what it was. So I'm just saying that that's where I come from based on my own experience. But I think it's a trans-dimensional experience. But just think about bringing that out into the light. That would shake up a lot of systems on this earth. First of all, religions, there's a lot of money tied up in religions, a lot of money. I know of certain Christian sects that are worth over $500 billion. Like these are huge, huge money making organization. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anybody out there. I'm just giving my opinion. But it would really shake up. And then what is the what are the religious systems there for? Kind of social control, kind of to keep people placated. That seems to be very much tied into the political system, which is tied into the economic system. Like the whole thing would have to be reevaluated and rethought, if this came out. And so maybe we really are not uh, not at war with flesh and blood. Maybe this is about different energies. Maybe this is good versus evil. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing. What do you think, Rex?
I think we're all guessing. And I think anybody that says they know 100%, you better have some solid data to back that up. So we can get a lot of truths in guessing. We can get a lot of, we can hit on a lot of things and have a lot of truths and a lot of accuracy in guessing. But it seems like whatever it is, it's smart enough to evolve one step ahead of where most people are at and thinking they've got it figured out. Like it kind of evolves with us almost. Because, as an example, we look at some of these microchips or these implants, I should say, some of these alleged implants that were alien implants from the 90s and early 2000s. And if we were to compare that type of tech now and look at it, what we could do now and how microscopic we can make certain technology, and we look at some of the flying saucers from the past that we thought for sure were aliens, and now we look at what our own military has with technology in just that amount of time. I'm kind of at a loss of belief. I don't really believe that they were alien craft per se. Some of them might have been. I mean, I'm not taking away ETs don't exist. And I think it's all of the above. I think that we have been visited from peoples and beings from other planets and other star systems, as well as different dimensions, probably time travelers. Like all of this stuff is potentially possible. So why say, well, it's all interdimensional or it's all transdimensional or it's all
Hmm.
is that a reticuli? Like, you know what I mean? I think it's all of the above
Hmm.
in certain circumstances, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily know what happened, so they explain it the best that they can, and they think it's like
Yeah.
aliens, and maybe it isn't, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Even in my own experience, I'm filtering it through my own state of consciousness. I'm filtering it through what makes sense to me. I'm never going to state it as being fact, or this is the way it is, or this is the only way to understand this phenomena. Not at all. In fact, everybody I know who has experiences leaves us with more questions than answers, for sure.
yeah, yeah. Welcome to Earth.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the experience. Is we're not supposed to know. Maybe it isn't bad. Maybe it's not good. Maybe we just see what our filters allow us to perceive at that given moment. And so, like that's why Rush is one of my favorite bands of all time. The lyrics, I'll just leave it at that. But they got some good lyrics in some of their songs. So if you need to
Hmm.
know, go listen to Rush with some organic
Hmm.
popcorn. at high elevation.
Mm-hmm. Now, Rex, we're quickly running out of time, and I know you got other things to do with your day too. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your future plans for Leak Project? What are you hoping to, where are you hoping to go and do, and information or whatever your plans are. We'd love to hear about what you got in store for us.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been doing a lot more like breaking news and headlines and stuff, but I'm really looking for all the stuff out there that it is breaking news, but it's not necessarily being, given the airtime that it needs, because people tend to lean towards the most extreme or sometimes the most political. So I will, I'm like today we were talking about the organoids that play video games and stuff like that. That's a pretty big news story, right? But there's not a whole lot of people talking about it, even though the mainstream news is picking up on that. Or how McDonald's had an E. coli outbreak where people were eating quarter pounders and getting extremely sick. And there's actually been some even worse things than that happening. What do you call it now? There's a certain verbiage for it. People are saying on YouTube. It's so funny the way that they say, "Oh, they're unalive now." Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's the new term, but it's not funny that that's what happened to them. Just the term itself, I think is kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But so, like, do most people know about the dirty clown and E. coli today? Probably not. We talked about that today. So yeah, but really what I would like to see is more like breaking stories that are important, that make a difference, that there's, like verifiable data that can back it up. It'd be great to get some awesome footage of a genuine paranormal or extraterrestrial experience or something like that. It would be great to break a story about some type of quantum technology or wormhole technology or whatever, or talk to somebody that had some verifiable data to back that up. It'd be really nice to see because I'm kind of spreading out on more platforms and working on like a daily program for audio as well. So not just video. I'm working on that. And I'm also helping out with this thing where, like, because everybody's identity was basically, everybody's social security number was hacked and is now available on the black market. Did you see that thing? 2.9 billion social security. I didn't even know there was this many social security numbers. 2.9 billion social security numbers were hacked. And that was in August that it was all released on the dark web. So everybody's social security numbers basically on the dark web. So I got this identity theft protection thing that is kind of cool. So if anybody's interested in that, it's also like having a lawyer in your pocket. So if you need access to a lawyer, you need to write a letter, you need them to give you logistics, or you need some estate planning or whatever, that's pretty cool. But that's what I'm doing. And yeah, I'm doing a lot of biking. So
yeah,
a lot of biking. That's fun, staying active. And I would like to help as many people be the change they want to see as possible. That's really my goal. I want to help as many people as possible, as much as possible, and have fun doing it. How about that?
mm-hmm.
Is that a win-win?
Oh, that's a win-win if I ever
Yeah.
heard one. That's
Hello.
fantastic.
I'm a
Now,
dreamer. I better put the bong down. I'm getting all excited. I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could just help everybody and all have fun at the same time? I mean, is
yeah,
that
why not?
possible? Why
Why
not?
not? We could live on our own terms. Why not? Now, all of the links are going to be below in the description, but for those that are listening on audio, Rex, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, Leak Project. Leakproject.com on Patreon for exclusive content, and leakproject.com is the website, and then YouTube and Rumble. So we've got a bunch of stuff. Like, if you want to hear some of the classic interviews with some amazing guests, long format interviews, I've got probably 1,000+ interviews on the website, leakproject.com. And then Patreon, have a ton of exclusive content on there, like stuff that you can only talk about on certain places for, whatever. Because they love you so much, folks. Like, if you're talking about stuff in a garage, then that can be real scary. I mean, you got to watch out for the people talking about stuff in the garage or out in the woods with beautiful leaves. Karen, you could be real scary out there. It's like 1984, but it's 40 years later. Woo. Yeah, be
Yeah.
the change. I love that. I really am glad that that's kind of set in with you, because I love to hear that, and it's so true. Like what else
Yeah.
can you do?
Yep. I agree. I agree. What else can you do? So, Rex, it's been such a pleasure to have a visit with you again.
You too.
It's been too long. We'll have to do it again in the near future. And I wish you the very best with everything that you put your hand to. And I also want to thank everybody from the live chat. I may or may not have gotten to your comments today, but I appreciate every single one of you. And I've read all your comments. And it's been just a lovely, lovely group today in the live chat. And for those of you who are watching the replay or listening on audio, I appreciate all of you very, very much as well. And like Rex says, be the change, be the change. I think that's probably the most important thing we could possibly choose to do. And it has such a huge impact on everything. So with that, we'll say goodbye for this week. We'll see you next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.